Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Stephen, thank you, Deborah, for joining me here today. First of all, I just want to go on record by saying that a lot of people told me not to do this press conference, but after the elections, I've kind of had a chip on my shoulder for the last 6-7 months that people that are going through this sort of sacrifice, that the daily struggle, they need to come out and speak to people, to the masses, to tell those people that are listening that it's okay and we shouldn't be afraid. My name is Javier Juarez and I'm 20 years old, and on Saturday I'll be the first person to graduate from Rhode Island College in my family, both my mom and my dad's side. I have been under the DACA program, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, since President Obama signed it back in 2011. So that means I've gone through rigorous background checks with USCIS to renew my DACA for 6 years. So I am no criminal, I am no rapist, I am no bad hombre. I'm grateful to have been given this opportunity to speak on behalf of those who are, in quote, in the shadows, and those people that are in fear of deportation due to our current political climate. To those I say, this is a time to come together and make history. Mark Twain once said, "History does not repeat itself, but it rhymes." Throughout history, we've seen some oppressed groups mobilize together and fight for change. And these movements were called the American Revolution, women's suffrage, and the Civil Rights Movement. We are no different. The term "no taxation without representation" could be said today as it was said in 1775. Because undocumented immigrants continue to pay taxes and continue to be misrepresented by local politics. I'm here today as a product of the Rhode Island public education system and to raise awareness of the daily struggle of undocumented students in the state. As a first-generation immigrant student, I have seen firsthand the financial, social, and racial obstacles that have shot down our dreams to pursuing a secondary education. Every day our country is losing future doctors, lawyers, computer scientists, nurses, and professors who will contribute to the country's economy and keep the country relevant with global competition. Without proper identification, I was unable to drive, unable to get a decent job, and unable to receive in-state tuition at the state that I have been living in since I was 10 years old. After high school, my friends began to go to college, and I was left behind to work and save money to help my parents pay our bills. We all worked minimum wage jobs and we all depended on each other to chip in when the end of the month came around. That's the immigrant reality. I began driving out of the need to commute to work, risking getting pulled over and possibly be arrested for driving without a license. That was the first time that, the true fear of deportation kind of got in my head. What would I do if I was deported? I haven't been in Peru since I was 10 years old. The place is not familiar to me. All my family's here in Providence. This time was very difficult for me because not only did it physically hold me back from doing things to better myself, it was mentally exhausting. I couldn't drive legally. I couldn't fly out of the country, never mind the state. I wasn't able to rent an apartment. I had no credit. I was just a statistic. Luckily, my parents supported me through this time, and then two things happened. President signed DACA in 2011, and the state authorized the in-state tuition for people like myself and everyone. That is when my life kind of changed. But now, it took me almost 10 years to graduate, but I did it. I had to work a few jobs in between to save, but it was worth it. And although I'll be graduating next week from Rhode Island College, sometimes I think to myself and wonder, how all this happened. Undocumented students do not receive any federal aid or FAFSA, which is a big component in being able to afford college. With rising tuition rates, even at the community college level, affording college is next to impossible for low-income immigrant families. Being able to receive in-state tuition, thanks to the state's policy and gaining DACA status, gave me the tools I needed to become a contributing member of society. In my point of view, the best way undocumented students can contribute to the country is by investing in their education so one day they can become professionals and lift their families up from poverty. However, to get to this point, Rhode Island must protect, support, and motivate its youth. and do what it takes to ease the fear that the federal government's new immigration policies are causing. I call for the support from our state government, especially those who have the power to make change. Chief Justice Attell, Governor Raimondo, and Attorney General Kilmartin. Please join the efforts of California, Washington, and Oregon, and New Jersey to keep our undocumented students safe from ICE deportations, and let's start planning ways to motivate them to continue their studies. We need change, protection, and support, so that one day we can contribute to the economy and make the Ocean State a more competitive and diverse state that does not only follow, but it leads the progressive movement of undocumented people that call this country their own. Thank you, everybody.